Once upon a time, a small spaceship crash landed on Earth, carrying inside a baby boy that would grow up to be one of the strongest in the universe. And his name is Goku. Oh, wait, not that one. Sorry, next one. Once upon a time, a spaceship crash landed in Kansas, carrying inside a baby boy who would grow up to be a superhero. And his name is Superman. Ah, fuck, wait, not that one either, god damn it. Once upon a time, Elizabeth Banks and her husband were trying to desperately have kids, but were unable to do so. One fateful night, a spaceship crash landed, carrying inside just what they were searching for, a baby boy. He would eventually become one of the strongest people on Earth, and his name is Brandon. Alright, I guess not as epic as the other two, but okay, we'll take it. Welcome to Dumb Down, the show where we summarize movies in hopes of understanding them better. Today, we dumb down Brightburn. From the mind of James Gunn's brother, Brian Gunn, and his cousin, Mark Gunn, god damn it, how many Gunns are there, comes the story of an evil child Superman. As Brandon was growing up, things were perfect for Elizabeth Banks and her husband. They had the perfect son they always wanted. But somewhere around his 12th birthday, Brandon began to act strange. His parents decided to keep the spaceship that he arrived in hidden in the barn. This spaceship started calling to Brandon. He began to sleepwalk and try to break into the barn. And while he was awake, Brandon began to suspect that he was different from all the kids. He wondered why he has never gotten hurt before. And after accidentally flinging a lawnmower a few hundred yards away, he decided to do what any psychopath alien child will do. He tested his strength by shoving his hand inside of a running lawnmower. Things continued to escalate when his uncle, Badger from Breaking Bad, thought that a rifle was a good present for a 12-year-old boy. Brandon's father was obviously against it. And in reaction to this, Brandon doesn't act like a superpowered demon child. He instead just pretty much acts like any typical privileged white kid at a restaurant and throws a fit.
I said, give it to me! Brandon.
So regardless of the countless amount of strange shit surrounding this kid, his parents still don't suspect a thing. I mean, they see him chewing forks, the lights flicker when he gets angry, and they even find a bunch of gross images of intestines and shit under his bed. And the only thing they can decipher from this is that they might need to have the talk with Brandon. One day, while out camping, his father decides to have the quote-unquote talk with a creepy alien child in the worst possible way.
You know, and you're gonna have certain urges. And I'm just saying that it's okay to give in to them now and again.
So later that night, Brandon gives in to one of his urges, and he rolls up to the house of one of his classmates on creep mode. He starts playing music on her laptop while she sleeps, and scares the shit out of her.
You have to believe me, he was right there.
Who was?
Brandon Breyer.
On another night, he gives in to yet another urge. He sneaks into the barn and fucks a bunch of chickens. Oops, honest mistake. He sneaks into the barn and fucks up a bunch of chickens. His parents didn't witness this, but his dad is now starting to suspect some shit.
I think this might be Brandon.
But Elizabeth Banks is all like, he's our sweet little son, he would never do that. Wake up, woman, your son is a goddamn evil alien. Sorry, I need to calm down. Back at school, his classmate is still really afraid of him, and when the gym teacher makes her help him up from the floor because he had fallen, he squeezes her hand so hard until he breaks it. Because of this, Brandon gets suspended from school for destroying this poor girl's hand, and during the suspension is when Brandon puts his eyes on his first victim, the mother of his classmate. Meanwhile, Elizabeth Banks is still pretending that everything is okay, but Brandon's father is beginning to lose his shit.
He may look like us and sound like us, but he's never bled, and now he's hurting people.
But his problems are about to get much worse because that night Brandon discovers the spaceship he arrived in. But for the first time ever in his life, he is harmed. A broken edge of the ship cuts right through his hand, making him feel pain for the very first time. Now Elizabeth Banks is forced to confess to him where he came from. This makes Brandon throw an Anakin-like bitch fit.
You lied! I hate you! You lied to me! I hate you! I hate this place!
Later that night, Brandon visits his classmate again and essentially tells her that he'll take care of her mother.
My mom told me not to talk to you.
I'm gonna take care of that.
Brandon visits his classmate's mother at the restaurant where she works to perform one of the most brutal scenes involving glass to the eye that I've witnessed in a while. For some reason, Brandon has decided to stop wearing a makeshift supervillain suit, and while wearing this, he kills his classmate's mother. But Brandon made a mistake. He left his initials in the crime scene. After the suspension from school is over, he's forced to start seeing a school counselor. But because this is a small hick town, it just so happens that the counselor is his aunt, and she quickly starts noticing that this boy ain't right.
Sometimes when bad things happen to people, it's for a good reason.
Brandon realizes that his bitch aunt might be a problem, so he pays her a visit at home. He pretty much threatens her, and when she tells him to go home, he doesn't. But luckily for her, her husband arrives just in time to save her. Badger isn't having none of this shit.
Brandon? What the fuck are you doing?
He drags him out to the car, but Brandon attacks him and flees. So he drives off in search of him. And this is the worst idea Badger has ever had since he decided to become Jesse Pinkman's friend, because Brandon catches up to him and brutally murders him. Brandon stayed out late that night, making his parents worry, and when he finally arrives at home, he tells them some bullshit story about how he was bullied by other kids.
You know, they were all laughing because my shirt got ripped. I just decided I'd walk all the way home.
What a psychopath. But his parents know that he's full of shit. In the middle of the night, they get a call that Badger has died. The cops are blaming it all on alcohol. And when they break the news to Brandon that his uncle is dead, this little shit can't even pretend to be upset.
I feel like you want me to cry or something.
This only makes his dad be more suspicious of Brandon being a serial killer little shit. And once he confronts him, Brandon just shoves his ass against a cabinet. So now he's out to prove that his alien son is a killer. He later finds one of Brandon's shirts covered in blood, which he believes to be Badger's blood. When he presents this evidence to Elizabeth Banks, she still refuses to admit it.
That is Noah's blood.
Regardless of Elizabeth Banks' denial, Brandon's father takes him on a hunting trip. He takes him out to the woods and he attempts to take him out with a shot to the head. Things backfire on him because the bullet doesn't even scratch Brandon. And this is where Brandon, once and for all, kills his father, showing that no one in Brightburn is safe from the wrath of this homeless anteater man-bee. Like seriously, what the fuck is up with this getup? In the middle of the hunting trip, the sheriff of Brightburn decided to pay a visit to Elizabeth Banks. He shows them a picture of markings that were left at all the crime scenes. After the sheriff leaves, she rushes to Brandon's room to find several drawings of that same exact symbol in Brandon's notebook, as well as drawings of each of the murders he has committed. What a perfect way to get caught, little kid.
Wow, how convenient is fucking that?
Now Brandon returns home to have the final showdown. Evil alien spoiled brat versus Elizabeth Banks.
Time to end this. Gun, I cannot miss. In this ultimate battle. I'll never stop no matter what the world may say.
She fights long and hard, but Brandon finishes it all by taking her up into the sky and dropping her to her death. The only person that protected him this entire movie is the same one that he just so carelessly kills in cold blood. Finally, he forces a plane that was flying by to crash into his parents' farm. So with this, Brandon lives on happily ever after, to create havoc and to take over Earth as the little diabolical alien boy that he is. This has been Brightburn Dumped Down, a pretty decent movie, although a bit predictable. However, I would rather watch this than any generic comic book movie released multiple times a year. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, and while you're at it, go check out our Instagram page.
See ya! Bye!
Get the fuck out of here now.
If you want any more of that, you can come by and see us again, yeah?